unless something is amazing, no one will see it. So there's no downside to putting out a lot of stuff and trying a lot of things, because just the way the internet works, like with social media and whatnot, if something is bad, the algorithm will just bury it. People will only see the great stuff because that's the only stuff that's kind of breaking through the algorithm. So there's very little risk in actually just putting out a lot of content. Nobody really knows what makes something great. It's kind of random. Even at SNL, like the best sketch writers in the world would sometimes have a clunker at the table read and be like, that's just how it is, because it can't all be hits. Like there is a percentage to it. But the kids who, or anyone who are so addicted to it has to be perfect, I can't let anyone see anything that's not absolutely perfect, they're not going to put themselves out at all. So they like will just like wait for something to be ideal, but then they're not actually getting in the reps and finding their voice. And they're not like, maybe they put out a video that they just thought was fine, but that ended up being what everyone loved. And they go, oh, that's actually my voice. That's what people like about me. That's what's unique.
We live in a complex and ever-changing world, a place that is maybe harder than ever to successfully navigate. The answer is surely to be brave, but it's also to seek and be open to guidance. Mentors are the one consistent through line in the lives of all accomplished people, myself included. So welcome to Mentor Buffet, a feast for those, like me, curious about who helped the most successful among us succeed.
I think the most clear advice, almost closest to mentor I've ever had, was right after college. I didn't know what to do. I was going to take a year off before medical school to try comedy stuff, but I didn't know even where to begin. So I looked through the alumni database and found this guy named Jonathan Groff, who is a big showrunner, awesome writer. And I emailed him the longest, most embarrassing email, just how much I admired him and asking all of these questions, trying to sound smart and asking him about stand-up and writing. And I was even trying to throw in I was like, is the auteur director system still in place in this modern age? I was asking such embarrassing questions, and he answered all of them.
Oh,
he
wow.
in these thoughtful, and we went back and forth in these thoughtful, he was so kind about it. And I've later found out he's done this for years for people. He's this super mentor at school that people reach out to him all the time. And he's just this incredible fountain of wisdom for people and giving encouragement. But also he'll even do stuff of hey, when you send these types of emails, don't say this kind of stuff, say this kind of stuff. Because it will be there is a certain form to it that you'll get better response. And he's so great and so generous with his time that then years later, after SNL, when I came back to LA, I reached out to him and I was like, hey man, just wanted to say thank you for giving me all this advice. And we met up and he was like, I can't believe it actually worked out. And he was so kind. And then we ended up working on a project together. We sold a pilot together. We're still doing some stuff together, and he's the closest, or he's a mentor. I mean, he's I've learned so much from him, but the closest to a very classic mentor that I've had, just because he was so generous with his time. And then since then, I try to do the same thing, because I'm maybe I could be a Groff to someone. Not that I'm, will ever be him, but I'll do, a Zoom or a call or a coffee, 1 or 2 a week with kids from college or recent grads that reach out, trying to just give the kind of answer all their questions. A lot of it ends up almost being therapy sessions where it will be I don't know if I should be doing this, or what city do I live in, or and some of it's very specific of here, what kind of samples and scripts should I do? But some of it is also very I don't know, should I be a director or writer? So, but I try to do as many as I can, as long as they're very, as long as they're nice and whatnot. But, yeah, but just trying to give back kind of the way he did to me when I was first starting.
I can imagine getting that email back and having both the oh, this person's taking time for me, and also these are concrete pivots I could make, whether it's I'm always what are the things you were writing in emails that you shouldn't be writing, and what are the do you remember anything specific, or is his impact on you in retrospect this broad sense of support?
I'd have to pull it up. I don't remember the exact things. I just remember thinking, like, if there are people like this who are willing to do this, it just gives me so much hope for this industry, because I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any connections or money or anything going into this. But I was like, if there are people like this who are just kind and like willing to like, take like a few minutes to respond to this, it like gave me a lot of hope in terms of like when people do reach out with these things. I do see a lot of like kind of what you should and shouldn't do. You can tell when it's like a form email. I don't know if you get this when people like ask for advice, but like they'll sometimes be like, if I get one that's like, "Dear Mr. Bornstein, I would like to schedule a yada yada to learn about your career and your blah, blah, blah." I'm like, okay, it just, you writing this to 200 people. But there are some people that are like, "Hey, I loved your work on this. I loved your work on that. I'm really trying to do something like this that you do." You go, "Oh, this is specific," and it makes you want to, or if they have some sort of like, "Hey, we went to the same high school. Hey, I saw you write on shrinking, and I'm in therapy, and my therapist and I talk about it all the time." Or like if they have some sort of personal connection, I would say that's a very valuable thing
for getting help.
For getting help, because then it just feels like, oh, they're coming to you specifically rather than they're just doing a shotgun blast into the universe and just going, "Somebody help me."
Yeah, exactly. And especially when you come from a program or a school that's like not a feeder into the arts, it's very intimidating to go into the arts.
Oh, yeah. It's very scary.
Yeah. And so just to have that, like, if there's one, then there's many. I think there's something to like sit with there about in life, we don't need a million examples that something that we hope to be true is true, but we do need like a meaningful one or two experiences, and then we need to take the leap and say, if this is possible, then there might be a handful or more of possibilities like this. I'm thinking about that because we're not always going to like be handed a buffet of those opportunities or those moments, if you will.
Nice plug using buffet.
Plug for my show. But I guess I always think about these like 25-year-olds, or sometimes I think about like what it took for me to make a leap, or what it might have taken for you to make a leap, and give yourself the chance to do something unlikely or something that you don't really know the roadmap for. And I do think to encourage people to take something that feels like it could have been good luck, or like or one magical experience, one magical person, and to assume that that's not the only one.
Yeah.
Instead of to say, "This is my one and only."
Yeah.
And I think that's like a shift people could make.
Yeah. And I think it was also, it also helps to then, you even just finding those magical people, they will then just be helping encourage you to do more of what you do. Like they're not just going to like be like, "Oh, now you've reached me and bring, and now you're a TV writer." Like you then have to go do the work and actually like get to the next step. And I think what made my relationship with Groff so great was that then I contacted him years later after having done the work. Like if I, as a kid coming out of college, had been like, "Hey, do you want to like pitch a show together?" I'd be like, "No, what do you, no, you're a child. Like I'm not gonna," but having actually then, done years of work and gotten credits and gotten on shows and stuff, to then come back and be like, "Thank you." And then we ended up just chatting, and it kind of organically happened that we started working on something together.
And then you had to go and do the work.
Yeah, because mentors can only just kind of like guide just aim you in what direction to go.
Yeah.
But then you have to go do they can be like, "Hey, dig here," but then you actually have to like dig in the ground yourself.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about, like, I feel like a lot of people they don't do the work, or they think, or they're shocked that something isn't happening passively.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like, "Oh, I had one viral hit. Why isn't my life like launching already?" I came into it very like one kind of desperate, just because I didn't have money, and so I needed to find a way to make it. So I was willing to do anything, and also a little delusional of like, maybe I could do this. I've had just enough people tell me that I'm good at this, had just enough success at film festivals, or like things going viral, or like things like that here and there, that I'm like, maybe I could be the one.
Yeah.
But, and then also I think I had what also really helped me was kind of a deadline, because I didn't have, I for after college, I was a pre-med, I was doing neuroscience, and then I was going to go to medical school. But so I was like, I'm going to take a year off, and I like need to like make something happen within like a year, or else I will just be on this. It would have been a great path. Probably should have done that anyway. But I was like, I need to make this work because this is my one shot at it. So I was like staying on couches, or like then finally got a place, and there was like, you know, 4 of us staying in a 2-bedroom. We built like a shantytown bedroom into like a living room using like IKEA bookshelves, and was just hitting the ground running, doing anything. And like I was doing stand up and sketch. I was shooting random corporate videos just to like pay rent for a month. I was like writing for these weird Onion ripoffs. I was interning for different places. I was doing free work for places, doing random PA jobs I found on Craigslist. Like I was just doing anything to make money and try anything. And then just kind of doing this like shotgun blast technique of just like, I'm just going to try everything and see if something sticks.
Can we talk about like the ego with regards to trying anything? Because what came to my mind is like, there's so many people I met at Dartmouth in particular who it felt like they were too good to do certain things, like too good to make money at working at a coffee shop, or too good. And I'm just being, it's not exclusive to Dartmouth, but I think there's like a mentality of like having too big of an ego to do what it takes.
Oh yeah.
To give yourself the chance to chase a really brave dream and pay your rent and not have any shame in paying your bills.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, I think like probably in the comedy world, there's like a little bit more romanticism around like doing it however way, writing for the Onion, doing a corporate video, like it might be, but do you have a conscious aware, like were you just in an environment where everyone was doing what it takes, or did you see people, like what about it made it, or are you just naturally so stable that you can do you know what I mean? Like well, were you looking at people doing similar stuff, or how did it feel?
Everyone was just trying to make money however they could. I from the beginning, I remember being like, there's nothing I'm too good for, which helped a lot. Like one of my first early jobs as I got in as a page at Letterman, and it would be like, you do like 2 days a week, and I would just be like standing on this like platform in the basement showing people where to go to the bathroom in commercial breaks. And like you're just standing there, and you meet all the other pages who are also trying to do stuff, and people are working at, you know, people are doing whatever they can to pay the rent. Like people are working at pizza shops, at coffee shops, at, you know, wherever they can. And I was doing the same thing. And so I was willing to do anything too. Like also I would search jobs every day on Craigslist and be like, I'll be the cable wrangler. I'll be I'll do. And also it was crazy that they would trust me with some things. I remember being on some productions and I would get like $50 for a day to like drive the equipment truck. And I'm like, there's like $400,000 worth of equipment that you trusted to some random 22-year-old that you've never met before. And I'm driving in New York City for the first time with like no window out the back in this cube truck. And I'm like, why are you guys trusting me right now to do this? But I would just do anything for, you know, for money here. And even I would do free jobs too, just to like meet people and stuff.
Isn't there kind of two sides to that coin of like, I would do anything, and then the side that sees that a 22-year-old can drive one of those trucks and be given that job, I can do anything?
Yeah.
Like, isn't there kind of like, you have keys to like a theme park and you might be allowed to like run the ride, you can maybe ride the ride, and like it's kind of like there's something like really beautiful about the boundlessness of that.
Yeah.
Of that image. And it seems crazy, but it's like, it's so crazy that nothing's crazy because that's possible and that was happening for you. It's just quite cool because I think there are so many people that are so limited by their environments or by a career that has only a track. Like you think about like a company like a Deloitte. It's like these people, there's a track and you actually like really can't, you're on a track and that's how it works. And so you were just surrounded by the norm was that you were not too good for anything because nobody seemed too good for anything.
There were people who did seem that way, but like I think they were more the exception. And I think that often, unless those people either had family connections or money or stuff and then would kind of blast off quickly, or they're just not in the industry anymore. And I think the people who are willing to kind of like shovel shit were more the people who are now have more longevity, just because if you were willing to do that stuff then, and also it just makes you a better person as you climb the ladder too, because you remember what it's like. So I'm never going to be rude to like a PA or like the people who like jump too quickly. They never knew what it was like to be to like come up through the system or like, you know, come up the ladder. So they might have disdain or disrespect. So I think you can really tell when someone has like been through the paces and like kind of like come up through the system a little bit.
Yeah, it's like a cake that like I'm thinking about
it's
a
delicious.
Cake. It's like a cake. No, like where like you know there's these cakes that I'm a very like
just
I'll like
imagine
always
you, like,
come up with images.
Look like around, you're like, it's like
a leaf, Jello
just
mold.
like looked at the first thing you saw.
Yeah, that makes me seem so unthoughtful.
No,
but I was
I'm
gonna
sure you're
say,
going somewhere great.
I was thinking about
would never have guessed.
Density of like how to have each of those experiences is to like have a really like if you are a cake that is it's like you're not filled with like just whipped cream that can kind of like collapse. Like you have layers of you where it's just so sturdy.
Yeah, you got that like you got that thick like Susie cake. You got the layer of coulis and like you got the got that hardened icing.
Yeah. And can someone just click and whatever. I'm always like, do people have an issue with this that they feel like they're too good for things? I think if they do, they just need to drop it.
Yeah, and I think it also prevents you from trying stuff when you think you're too good for things. Because I remember some of the advice I give, like some of these like you know, up and comers now, is I'll be like, unless something is amazing, no one will see it. So there's no downside to putting out a lot of stuff and trying a lot of things, because just the way the internet works, like with social media and whatnot, if something is bad, the algorithm will just bury it.
Oh, wow.
Unless it's like offensive or like, you know, is like so bad like that. But it's so rare. If you're not like a rude, racist piece of shit, like that stuff's not going to happen. But like if something's just okay, people just won't see it. Like so people will only see the great stuff because that's the only stuff that's kind of breaking through the algorithm. So there's very little risk in actually just putting out a lot of content and just trying things. And then the people that actually are trying a bunch of stuff, nobody really knows what makes something great. It's kind of random. Like there are people that you can kind of vaguely know and you can have a good guess of it, and like your percentage rate goes up. But there is also a randomness to it. Like even at SNL, like the best sketch writers in the world would sometimes have a clunker at the table read and be like, that's just how it is, because it can't all be hits. Like there is a percentage to it. But the kids or anyone who are so addicted to it has to be perfect, I can't let anyone see anything that's not absolutely perfect, they're not going to put themselves out at all. So they like will just like wait for something to be ideal, but then they're not actually getting in the reps and finding their voice, and they're not like, maybe they put out a video that they just thought was fine, but that ended up being what everyone loved, and they go, oh, that's actually my voice, that's what people like about me, that's what's unique. And I remember there was some study that there was this class, this photography class, and they split it into two groups. And one group was like, your whole assignment for the semester is to just take one perfect picture. Have you heard this?
Mm-mm.
And then the other group, they're like, just take 50 pictures of anything. Doesn't matter what it is, can be crap, whatever. You would think that at the end of the semester, the ones who took that one perfect picture, that they're waiting for it just to be just right and it's just perfect, would be so much better. But the ones who took 50 random whatever ended up, whatever their best one was so much better, because they had just like in the practice of just doing it, they had figured out, oh, this kind of thing works, this kind of thing doesn't work. Even if like there was no like goal to make it perfect, it was just the like the progress, the growth, the like repetitions, the failures are like what matters, so that they like were finding the negative space of what was bad, as opposed to the people who just try to be perfect from the outset.
This is so awesome, because it's also in contradiction to like baseball and basketball stats where they actually count the misses. So like, shooting, batting averages, all these things take into account the failures, and the percentage is representative of both.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea that like the algorithm is just going to filter it out, like the sweeping away, the ocean will sweep it away,
Yeah.
is so encouraging. It's actually like such an optimistic way of seeing it all, because I think people are afraid of putting out something that doesn't do well as if it's on blast when it doesn't do well, but it
Yeah.
really does just disappear.
It just won't come to, maybe like a
Yeah.
few people will see it, but like really it's safe to try things, because unless it's great, people just won't see it. Unfortunately and unfortunately, but that's just how the algorithm works right now.
Yeah, I find that so encouraging. And yeah, I think that's really, really cool.
Thanks. And I think it's like so much of like being good and putting stuff out is also about the attempts, like, and being able to have a safe space to fail. That's another piece of advice I like whenever I talk to kids, is like, try to have a place where you can try a million things and there's no consequences for it being bad too. So like I was very lucky in college. There was a bunch of comedy groups, and I got into this one called Out of Bounds. It was this sketch group, and every month and a half we would put on like a 2-hour long sketch show. And I got in my first semester freshman year, and then did it through the end of my senior year. So by the time I graduated college, I had written hundreds of sketches, and most of them were god awful, just absolute dog shit, not funny. But in those hundreds, because there are ones that would go like we would do on stage, we'd direct it, we would produce it, we would make it work, we'd do it in front of 300-400 people, and it would be a huge hit. And I go, oh, that's my voice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do another one, absolutely eats shit, people hate it, whatever. But I just kept doing. So I had this safe space to fail and just kind of find my voice and just try a million things.
Mm-hmm.
And then through that, you go, oh, that's where my voice
Mm-hmm.
shines. Or, oh, that's that kind of structure, or that joke structure, that like formatting. And like you kind of figure out your vibe and figure out what you do, as opposed to the people who, maybe they've never done it before and they're like trying to write this one perfect script. You're never going to write the one perfect script having never done any. It's like you have to like try a million things, figure out what was good about those, and then you'll kind of happen on an even better one.
I think what you said is so profound, because I've always wondered, what does it really mean to say like find your voice, find yourself, find? The word find is so interesting, because the person who's trying to like be perfect on the first go, or just do the perfect photograph and only have that, they're almost deciding what it needs to be ahead of time.
Yes.
And then forcing it to be what their idea of what it is.
There's no discovery process.
There's no discovery, and there's no really like just like your true self of like when you put out when you write those 100 sketches and then figure out the one that resonates, it's almost like you can take it less. You can also take the feedback and the path of finding yourself less personally.
Yeah.
Because you're not saying like, I'm trying to like get this out there. You're just like, here's what's coming through me. And then where is the harmony with the world, with the audience? Because comedy is this conversation, right? And so it's a less personal way of finding yourself. And it is actually how to find yourself seems to be giving yourself 100 shots and then being able to look at those and figure out which one like sings. Or something.
What was the most fun? Which was the one that like didn't feel like work?
But you can't decide ahead of time, right?
No, because if you decide ahead of time, then it will just feel like a slog. And it's like, this has to be the thing that works. And if it doesn't, then you're like banging your head against the wall. So I think having less pressure on each individual one is helpful. And then also as you do more and more, your hit rate does go up. If like at the beginning, 1 in 20 sketches I wrote was funny, by the end, 1 in 2, it's like you get better and better and better, and then you can start monetizing it, and then you show up at a job and it's like, oh, my hit rate's higher. And but even still, it's like nobody ever gets to 100. Like sometimes people will be like, how did this director how is this movie so bad, or like this TV show so bad when things come out, and it'll be like, this was such a good director, how did this happen? I'm like, it's like a miracle anytime something is good. Like the number of things that have to go right for something to be good is so like it has to be good from the concept to the script to the shooting to everything. There's 200 crafts people on on a set that all have to be perfect. And if even one of them drops the ball, you're losing. Like you could have a perfect movie, The Godfather 2, but like the lighting sucks and all of a sudden it just looks like you're shooting it on a phone or something. That's not a fun movie. Like everything has to be great, or like the music is weird or wonky, or it's just like so whenever something is good, I'm like, that's a miracle. So when people are like, how could this be bad? I'm like, how could it be good? It's amazing.
People, Promorph is here from Meryl. And you know what's exciting about the Promorph? I am a girl that likes to run on multiple surfaces. I like track, I like roads, I like grass, I like dirt, I like going from road to dirt. I like not knowing where I'm going and finding my way. And these are the shoes that I bring with me because these can go on every surface. Pavement, dirt, gravel, grass, rock. Where else do you run? Stairs? And when I switch surfaces, the Promorphs have my back and they will have yours too. They're comfortable. They have Float Pro technology. They have this sort of grip on the bottom that really does go from surface to surface. The other day, I went out my door, as I often do, up the road to the dirt, eventually ended up raining a little bit, was still fine in the Promorph, and looked good doing it, okay? These things are fast also. When I went on the track, I ran my fastest 800 that I've run in a very long time. So look out for me on a start line in my Promorphs very soon. Promorph by Meryl. And for a limited time, this is actually a really big deal. You can get 25% off the Promorph. That's really, really awesome. Using the code MentorBuffet25. You gotta do it, people. Like, these are awesome. They're probably gonna sell out. Who knows? I'm probably gonna win some races in them. I don't know. We could match. Oh, and I cut you off, but I wanted you to finish because you were saying once you put the sketches out there, you ask yourself, how fun was this? How did it make? Tell me that criteria for you.
Sometimes I write stuff and it just like feels like you're just like in this like flow state, and it just like almost like you can't stop doing it, and it's fun. I look forward to doing it. Then there are times I'm writing stuff and I'm like, I'm doing anything I can to not write it. I'm playing shit games on my phone. I'm going on Twitter. I'm like trying to avoid it. I'm scheduling plans with friends to avoid it. I'm going to the gym and telling myself that's a great use of time when really I'm just using that to procrastinate on the project. So that there's that of just like, do I want to do more of this? Then there's do people respond to it too? I mean, like that is a meaningful point. I think there's this idea of like, I believe in my art, so I don't care what the audience thinks or anything. I think that's such bullshit because you're making stuff for people to enjoy or to have some sort of emotional response. And so if everyone is saying, I don't like this, when people are like, I don't care what the haters say, I'm like, listen to the haters a little bit. Like, don't let them completely decide what you do and don't do. But like if you've got groups of people hating on you, I mean, maybe at least look inward a tiny bit. And also you'll see this, like if you're putting stuff on YouTube or something, you can tell by the view count, just like, you have a quantitative way of saying, is this good or bad? Or like, not necessarily good or bad, but like, are people responding to it? Because sometimes the view count will be just because you had like a sexy thumbnail or something, or like it happened to have some word that was like SEO'd for some reason. But so there's enjoyment, am I proud of it? Like when you think back on stuff, I think like, am I happy I did this? Am I proud of it? Would I share it again? Because there's some things I did that like did well, but I'm like, I don't want people to see that now. Like, not that it's like offensive or anything, but just that it's like, it just is like embarrassing for what you've become, as opposed to like, oh, actually that was pretty good for the time. Like that was something maybe I could do it better now, but like, I'm not ashamed to look at it. It doesn't make your skin like scream when you look at it.
Yeah. There's a lot of like people needing to give themselves a chance to be in the game, like make the work. And then a lot of this comes like after the fact and taking a little bit of time to reflect on it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I noted that I cut you off and I was like, I think people are going to want it. I think people need to know, what is that list? Because people, they might already be at this stage where they're like, I'm willing to write 100 sketches, but like, now what? Like, how do I know it's almost like, because it's art and it's not an athletic performance, for example, how do you know what's worth chasing and what are the feelings we're supposed to have? And what is the like pie chart of like pay attention to the criticism too, and pay attention, take that stuff into account. And I think it may be second nature to you, but I don't think it is to everybody.
Yeah.
Now,
I think there was something else you were saying too about like the idea of like finding your voice too, because I think that is such a big thing and like something I tell folks too, even though I will say that phrase is somewhat meaningless, because especially in TV writing and in movie writing too, but like a lot of times in TV writing, if you're working on someone else's show, you are writing in someone else's voice, and you're like doing your job is essentially to do an impression of the showrunner or do an impression of the show creator. And because you're trying to help them realize their vision. So most of the TV writing jobs, it's not 100% about your voice. It's can you write in someone else's voice while still making it your own a little bit. And so I think you do like find your voice too in like when you write your original pilots or your original movies, things that are a little bit more solo-y. But I will say it also changes. And I would like to think like I know my voice so well. And I think a lot of writers feel this way too, which is like, I don't exactly know what like some people are like, I know this is exactly the thing I do. I don't know exactly what my voice is. And sometimes when people go, oh, that's such a Zack joke or something like that, I'll be like, what do you mean? Like, I'm like so desperate for someone to be able to put words to it, but they're like, I don't know. It just like feels like a you joke. I'm like, no, but like how? Please tell me, because you can't, it's like very hard to put into words what your voice, what your tone is. And so, and I kind of know what it is, but it's very hard as the person because you're self-generating. And if you think like, I'm a guy who's a little bit blank and that's my voice, then you end up kind of pigeonholing yourself too, and you like get too addicted to your own voice, and your stuff ends up feeling very redundant because you're like so addicted to this voice that maybe worked on this one thing. So,
or you're imitating the past.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. You're just chasing this high that you had at one point. I don't really have a great point here, but I guess the idea is just that like someone's like, find your voice. It's not going to be like there's going to be this moment you're like, oh my God, there it is. That's my voice. There'll be moments where you're like, oh, that was a great joke that people really responded to or not. And I will try to like hone that, imitate that a little bit. But it's also a ever evolving thing. And you don't want it to be too specific because then you end up pigeonholing yourself too.
Yeah. It's almost like there's a difference between finding what was like your truest voice in looking back at all those photographs you took or all those sketches you wrote. It's not then imitate that. That's how you evaluate what you just did too. Mm-hmm. It's how you understand what you just did.
Yeah.
I'm writing a new book with Random House, and
cool. Congratulations.
It's fun, but it's a lot about like people as verbs and not nouns, and how we're not fixed. Like we no matter what we're changing, we're just either aware of it and like driving the change and conscious of it, or we're adapting unwillingly because we are to be alive is to change, but also the world, all the stresses cause us to adapt. Yeah. Right. And so I think in that spirit, we're never like trying to pin down who we are and then stop. I think it's trying to understand and highlight what was the most self-actualized version of us in a moment of time. That's like to turn an art piece in or whatever. And then to know that it's never going to be like that again. Right. Yes. Like we're going to keep making different pieces. And so, and I think what's confusing about that probably for a young person listening is like, well, then how do I like make a business out of this if I can't like figure out, if I can't pin it down in some way? Mm-hmm. And maybe what people can pin down is rather than focus on the outputs of like, oh, my jokes always end this way, or I was just, maybe there's more trying to understand ourselves systematically of like, how do I think?
Ooh,
or how do I, do you know what I mean? Like more of, because I think in the spirit of mentorship, really, it's not about imitating somebody's life because no one will have your life.
Yes.
Right? It's about learning how people think, how they make decisions, how they handle adversity, how they handle success. And all of those are more like processes rather than like products.
Yes.
And so maybe understanding, the self is more about how do I what are my like, systems?
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
I love that. That's great. And I think to your point, it's like you can't really imitate someone else's path because they had a very specific upbringing. They had a very, even like your heroes and your mentors, they came up at a certain time when there were certain paths into that industry that don't necessarily exist anymore. Like so many people have tried to imitate the Broad City girls, which they got it from doing these YouTube shorts. But I forget who said this to me, but they're like, once like a path into comedy has been done, it like doesn't really exist anymore. But then you'll have a million people who are trying to do that same path. And it just like, and like my path into it was also doing like YouTube sketch stuff and things like that. But that's not something that like exists as much anymore. Like that, at least in like the like longer things that didn't have like this instant hook that they do now and like can be vertical and very cutty and short and stuff like that. That stuff, like the paths into the industry have changed. So like it's more about these systems, it's more about these skills, it's more about your growing to instead of just trying to imitate the people that you like because they came up at a time when maybe people were getting discovered through comedy clubs or through just things that just aren't happening anymore.
It's almost like that. The wisdom that you have is if the path has been done, maybe it's not your path.
Yes, exactly.
And it's right.
And their path like was some miracle fluke that happened for that person at that one time, and you can't replicate it necessarily because one person happened to see what someone was doing and then gave them an opportunity. But it's good to imitate in terms of like passion and trying to do things and putting stuff out there, but you can't actually replicate the exact same path that someone else had.
It's the thought patterns though, like I'm not too good for this. If there's one, we've talked about a few of them, but I think what people can really learn is exactly how you learned, which is you developed like systems to give yourself the chance to create the work, right? And then you had to do the work. And then you had to reflect on the work and be able to make, it's cool. I'm just convinced that things are possible for people and they...
Oh, yeah.
I feel so sad when people are like, this is why this wasn't possible, because I think it's comfortable for people to find a reason why things were not possible.
Yeah.
And it's also quite scary to be unusual and not on a path that other people can understand. And the truth is they're not going to understand it. If you're doing something right, it probably isn't going to be very clear until people look back at it. The path, that is.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, are there like leaders in your life, whether it's like a Bill Lawrence or someone that comes to mind where you were working on a show, it's their vision, it's their show, and you learned from them?
I mean, I definitely learned a ton from Bill, and he takes mentorship very seriously. He's a big mentor guy. You should have him on the podcast if you can. He's incredible at mentoring and cares a lot about it. He's had so many people come from his shows and really rise, and he's great about promoting assistants to writers and giving a lot of people opportunities. I'm still somewhat new to his camp, and I would love to think of him as a mentor.
Have you learned from him?
Oh, I've learned a ton.
What have you learned?
I mean, just in terms of like, he's brilliant at story structure. He's brilliant at jokes, and he's also just like brilliant at like knowing what will work in a way that he like can see it in, he can see like moments and scenes that will like pay off in a way that the rest of us don't always, and then we catch up to it and go, oh, that's really fucking good. Mm-hmm. Like he will, like when we're breaking a season, he's like, as long as we have this final moment, the whole season works. Like just like we have this setup stuff, we can fill the middle with not anything. We're trying very hard and making it all work and set up and blah, blah, blah. But like, as long as he could just like knows, and we're like, that's that. And then he's absolutely right. He just like knows these moments and these big things that this like, he knows what audiences will like. I mean, he's had hits in 4 decades. It's insane.
I know, it's
he's
amazing.
One of the most prolific creators of all time. He's so funny in the room. He's got great stories. His jokes. I mean, he's got, I've learned so much from him. And the way he does story structure too is we'll have the, all the scenes up on the whiteboard, and he'll do this almost like beautiful mind thing where he like will like sit back and look, and then just like they all kind of get shuffled around and a million times, and then it just works. And then we just, he's very, very, very good at that.
Do you feel like he's like tapped into, this might be like really niche, but like, is it like a structural intelligence, or is it like he has this emotional intelligence of like what he like, what is the payoff? It's an emotional one,
Yes,
right?
yeah. And it's very emotional. He draws on his own life a lot. I think it's both. It's structure, because structural leads to emotional payoffs in TV. Like the structure does, like if you have Mr. X, or if you have like, structural scenes that like you're thinking, like you're building two characters not talking to each other and then they finally come together and blow up. Like there are structural things that create the emotions. So I think he's brilliant at both.
I think it would be cool to like, even in like a short form way, talk through anything that comes to mind. If you have anything specific, if you're like, these are my routines, or this is what I do, if you think that you have something to say about it.
Ooh, about routines.
Yeah. I mean, you're like a really like, you have to make your schedule, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have deadlines. But again, you're not like reporting to any one person. You have a lot of people you're reporting to.
Yes.
Right.
I love deadlines. It's my favorite. It's like I would do, if I didn't have deadlines, I would be just a slithering mess on the ground. When I'm in the writer's room, I do like you start at a certain time, you end at a certain time. You have a very fixed schedule. Scripts are due at this time on this day and whatnot. In between seasons doing development, I mean, you know this well, like it used to be that there was a network season that was like, this is when you pitch your pilot, this is when they decide if they're gonna buy it, here's when you need to turn it in, here's when you're doing your notes, here's when we're gonna shoot it, here's when we're gonna tell you if it's going to series, yada yada. Now with like the streaming, that there's no yearly schedule, they're just like, I've sold shows and movies and stuff, and they'll be like, okay, when do you want this? And they go, I don't know, whenever it's ready.
Yes, and it's so
like,
crazy.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, so but like a month? They're like, that works. I'm like, 5 months? They're like, whatever you think.
Yeah.
And it's almost this like weird test, but it's not. Because for them, it's like they have
plenty to do.
They have plenty to do. It will be fine. It's generally better to do it sooner, just because regime changes happen. Maybe the person who bought it this keeps happening, where like the person who bought it no longer works for the company, or even their mandates change of like, we're looking for a high school show. You sell them a high school show. 2 months later, we're not doing high school shows. So it's like, you want to do it sooner than later, because they're buying things in a moment of time from a certain group of people that are looking for the thing that you have. And the sooner you do it, the more likely it is that those conditions are still applicable. It's so hard for me, this like the deadline-lessness, because
Me too.
It's hard to force yourself, because you're going, well, if I could do it in another 2 weeks, it's like, there's other things I'd like to be doing. It's also the addiction to starting a new project is so like, just like, it's so good to start a new project and to do something you already have done. Who wants to do something you already have? You want to get into the new thing.
Yeah.
So you'll take meetings. Oh my God, some fun thing comes up, some big
it's like
IP
a little
or
drug or something.
Oh, just start. It's so much more fun to start new things than to finish something that exists. Although obviously, if I sell something, I'm going to do it because you're getting paid and you want to look good and you want to.
Of course, I get it.
You want to deliver on what you've promised, and also that's like the most exciting thing. You might actually get to make it, but in terms of just like when you're like out there pitching stuff, it's so much more addicting to start new things than to write it. And especially if you're writing stuff on spec where there's not a buyer and you're like, I just want to believe in this feature and just hope. That is really where you're going to make your passion projects. That's also where you can make a ton of money. It's also where you can do it, but it's so hard to do those on spec because there's no deadline. There's no even loose deadline. There's nothing.
Yeah,
it's just all self-generated. I need to do this, or so that's why I think writing partnerships help a lot. So because I'm so much driven by not wanting to disappoint people and I've meeting with so-and-so, so I need to have done X amount of work by this time. And then I can just click into this new gear when I have a deadline coming up. And I think a lot of people have that type of thing where they just need some sort of they need to be guilt motivated or fear motivated, or the people who say I just write for the love of the game. I'm like, you're a lunatic. I would love to do that, but it's like, I don't just like, I don't know, maybe when I first started, but now that it's like a career, I'm like,
Yeah.
you need some sort of external motivation.
Yeah, I think it's the same way with running. Like, I mean, I want to do it every day, but not in like the generative way you would have to like make a script equivalent of running.
Yeah.
Which is a race. Yeah, I get that. I need deadlines too. And it's even just nice to like say it, because otherwise you feel like if you haven't heard this, then you feel like something's wrong with you.
Yes.
If you need a deadline.
Oh, deadlines are the best. I've never missed a deadline in my life.
That's
but
great.
if I don't have a deadline, I'll take forever to write something.
Yeah.
Just because you don't have it. And then also other things will come up. Maybe new paid work will come. You'll get distracted. The second you have a deadline, all of a sudden it exists and it needs to be done, or else you're going to disappoint someone. And what is worse in this world than having someone go, ugh.
Right. Does that make you feel bad?
Of course. You don't want to. And also, it would be fine if you go, I need another week. It would probably be totally fine. But like in most cases, not all. But
it's enough to motivate you.
It's enough that you, and also yeah.
Well, and think about the way that you got into this career, getting off your medical track and giving yourself 1 year to make a life out of this.
It was also a money thing, just because I was running out. It wasn't necessarily. It wasn't just a internal.
I know, but it was a high stakes deadline, and it helped.
It did help because it made me crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that there's something to like appreciate about like a deadline that does have stakes like that. Whether it's I don't want to disappoint people or I need to pay my rent.
Yes.
And I think some people have like the endless comfort of no deadline and no needs is not necessarily going to help them be happier or more successful. And so I think it's worth pointing out, because it's easy to also be really jealous if someone has endless opportunity or can be supported by other people. It is nice to believe that the challenge is actually good for us.
Yeah. And having that fire under you constantly, because once you get too comfortable, Yeah,
I think so too. We didn't like go so far into it, but I think we really did touch on like peers as mentors, like the writing groups that you had, the sketch writing groups that you had growing up, that you still maybe, have people you call if you want to share some work with.
Yeah. The people that end up mattering in the long term are the people at the same level as you. So like even when we were all pages, there was probably like 20 of us. And at the time, nobody was doing anything. We're all just trying to do whatever we can to make money. And people were doing stand-up, doing sketch, doing improv, but nobody had any credits, no nothing. We were all just fresh out of college. But eventually, you create friends with all those people and you all start rising. Oh, someone gets a job at a network. Someone becomes an agent. Someone starts working at a comedy club. And all of a sudden, all these people, they're all rising together and helping each other. And so like your peers end up being so much more important than like the people who tried to take the shortcuts and just jump right to the top of the building where the writers are. Because it's so much more unlikely. And in terms of like building a base, building a net, those like your peers end up mattering a lot more.
That's a really, really, really good thing for people to hear who are thinking that they desperately need a mentor to be successful.
Yeah.
Because it's basically saying like, yes, learn from people, but like lock arms with your peers and like pay attention to them and be real friends and collaborators
and help
with them.
As much as you can the other people, because like
help.
Yeah, because like people were making shorts and stuff and YouTube sketches, and I would hold booms for Buddy, or we try to rent some space, or like you're just like you do anything, or like be in each other's, like you go to each other's shows to fill out the crowd, and like you act in each other's things if you need extras, or like you just do anything you can to help, because then they also are like, you just create this like base of support for each other. Like, and then you see sometimes these like groups that kind of like stuck together and now they're all successful, and it's incredible. Like even I just watched Friendship, the Tim Robinson movie, and it was like all of his like buddies are in that all kind of rose together, and it's so awesome to see, because you like, people are kind of like in the trenches together at these comedy theaters or stuff, but then you keep rising together and you all help each other.
And talk about just having a good life. It sounds fun.
It's way more fun to do it with people. Yeah. And also you can bounce things off. People Yeah, it's just way more fun than if the people who are only looking up, that they're always going to feel insufficient.
Yeah, this is an abundance mindset because it's saying, I have these people, not let me reach and I don't have that person above me.
Yes.
And that's a better energy to have. It's a better experience to have. And from what you're saying, it's more effective if you care to be successful and have longevity.
For longevity, for sure. There are the people who will climb very quickly, but they sometimes will peter out.
That happens in sports.
Yeah.
People, shortcuts don't work at all in sports. They work till they don't, and then they're devastating. But I imagine it's like that in life anyway. Because if you don't learn the skills, or you don't actually build the confidence and you know that you took a shortcut, you live with it.
Yeah.
I feel like people aren't talking about enough that like the shortcuts like leave you with a deficit.
Yeah.
Like you don't have the friends. You didn't build up gradually in a way that gives you all the foundations, whatever it is, right?
Yes.
And I think people don't realize that, like, because everyone's always talking about it's not fair to everyone else if you take a shortcut. It's like, it's actually sucks for you the most. It sucks for the shortcut person the most.
Yeah. It's like fickle. It's not resilient because all your status, all your everything, all your success is based on one job that could go away. Whereas opposed to people who like your base is other people and base is like building your talents and building that, you like, even you'll get jobs and stuff, but even if it goes away, you're still rising together, you're still improving, you still have all these people, as opposed to like the kind of like lone wolf shortcutters. Maybe you jumped in, you got this amazing job right away, but then once it goes away, you don't have a community anymore. Like you don't have the other people. You're back to square one. Yeah.
That's great. I think that's case, like, I'm convinced.
If you're enjoying Mentor Buffet, follow Voicing Change for more inspirational and truly life-affirming content from shows like Soul Boom, The Proof, Feel Better, Live More, and the Rich Roll podcast. Just go to voicingchange.media. That's voicingchange.media for a beautiful selection of productive and positive shows.